that feeling of stillness that I found in a breathwork session is the feeling that your audience gets when you speak. That is what happens when someone delivers their message without any of the noise getting in the way. The room goes quiet. It's still. And everyone is listening and focusing because it's magnetic.
Welcome to Reclaim Your Voice, the podcast for business owners who are ready to be heard, speak on stages and podcasts, and to become genuinely known for what they do. I'm Savannah Madden, confidence and speaking coach for founder-led businesses, and I help you find your voice, own your expertise, and speak in a way that attracts the right clients and opens the right doors. Here we talk about finding your voice, building the confidence to share your message, and doing the real work that gets you recognised by the people you're meant to serve. If you've got something important to say and you want the world to actually hear it, you're in the right place. This is Reclaim Your Voice.
Hello and welcome back to Reclaim Your Voice. I'm Savannah Madden, confidence and speaking coach for business owners. And today I want to take you with me somewhere very, very beautiful. Specifically, I want to take you to Carr Castle in Halifax. Because last weekend I got back from a retreat where Matt Hall, one of my mentors, hosted an incredible mastermind weekend, and I came home with something that I want to share with you. Not just the highlights, although there were many, but a clarity about what is actually possible for you when you stop letting your nerves run the show and stop getting in your own way. So stay with me, because by the end of this episode, I want you to be able to picture something. I want you to be able to picture yourself walking into a room, onto a stage, into a conversation that matters, into a podcast studio, whatever that looks like for you, and feeling something different to what you feel right now. Not necessarily fearless, but not performing, just free. So let's get into it. So as I said at the beginning, the retreat was held at a place called Carr Castle in Halifax. I know, right? A castle. It was already a sign it was going to be a fantastic weekend. And we arrived on the Friday afternoon and we started with setting our intentions. So the whole group had to come up with what they needed from the weekend and then shared that with the group. So what clarity were we looking for? What was our mission? What were we actually there for? And for some people, it was to relax and have a blooming good time. For some people, it was to get super, super clear on a certain thing. And for some people, it was to get clear on their mission. You know, different strokes for different folks. And I really enjoyed this because it really made me think. And I wasn't just thinking, not just logistically, but physiologically. When you walk into a room and say out loud what you need and the people around you receive it without judgment, something really shifts, doesn't it? Your nervous system settles. It registers that this is a safe space and these are safe people. Now, if you've worked with me before, you'll know that I don't like to label that my spaces are safe, because it is for you to decide. So I'm just talking from my experience that I felt safe in that room, and I always strive to make my spaces feel as relaxed and inclusive as possible. And hopefully everybody in them feels safe. But it just meant that I think quite a lot of people, and of course I can't speak for everybody, felt safe, for want of a better word, to be really honest about what the reason was that they were there for. And of course, the people that were there for just a good time and a bit of a relax, they probably had no misconceptions or they had no qualms about sharing that in the first place. But it just means that you can put the armor down. And that moment, the moment where the armor does come down, is the moment that I'm striving for and that I want for every single person that I work with, because that is when your real voice comes through. Not a careful version, not an edited version or a watered down version, the actual you, the person that is that authentic self. Later on, we then went back to our hotels and got ready because it was actually Matt's birthday. So we were going out and we knew we were going off-site, shall we say. We were going off-site to another location to have a 3-course meal. And that is when the Hummers arrived. Yes, it was very exciting. There were 2 Hummers and we had Prosecco inside the Hummers with some tunes, and it was great. So we were in Halifax and the Hummers took us to Leeds, where we went for our 3-course dinner at this beautiful restaurant and sat with all sorts of wonderful people from the retreat, because there was about 30 of us. So by that point, I still hadn't spoken to everybody. I was pretty sure that I knew most people there, but not everybody. So I made sure I sat next to 2 people that I didn't know, because I thought, got to practice what you preach and, use your voice and ask people questions and things like that. So after our lovely 3-course meal, we went back to the castle and then, went back to our respective accommodation, and I went to bed very late. I booked us a taxi to get back to our hotel, and I was one of the first people from our hotel. So there was more than one taxi load of people. There was at least 3 or 4 taxis going back there. I was the first person to book our taxi, and we were the last to leave as our taxi was really late for some reason. But anyway, I got into bed feeling very wired, but very excited for the next day. So Saturday was really full on. We had a training in the morning on some launching and Q&A, and it was really practical and useful. And we were set a task around selling at the retreat. So off we all went to respective areas of the castle to go and actively be present in our DMs, talking to people, forming relationships and things like that. And it was a really, really useful morning and afternoon. And at that point, I actually generated quite a lot of leads, warm leads. Some of them were quite hot. And I held a masterclass last week. And from that exercise, I managed to get quite a lot more people signed up to my masterclass. And I generated some sales as well in that time. And it was a Saturday lunchtime, It was quite a good time, apparently, to be chatting to people and asking them what they need, what they're after at the moment. And I think that sometimes when we're doing this work by ourselves, we can put things off, can't we? We can procrastinate, we can get a bit paralyzed. And I'm speaking completely from experience. But it's just really helpful to know that lots of other people were doing that same exercise at the same time. And it was just really great to be in that scenario. So I really enjoyed it. And I'm sharing the fact that I was actively in my DMs and that I did generate some sales, because I want you to hear what happens when you've done the work and then how you communicate. Because when you're not tangled up in whether things sound right or whether they're coming across well or whether the words are going to come out in the wrong order, when your voice is working for you rather than against you, things move, opportunities land differently, conversations go further, and people do say yes sometimes, which is amazing. And that is available to you. I also absolutely love the power of a voice note. So if you've ever received a voice note from me, that's usually one of my top ways of communicating, unless you will tell me otherwise. So after the sessions that we had in the morning and some lunch and stuff, we had access to the pool, the sauna and the steam room. And I'm going to be really honest with you here, because I've just said a load of stuff that happened in the morning, but I think it matters for how I felt in the afternoon as well, because I really, really struggled to switch off, really struggled. And I love water. I love swimming. I love saunas. I love steam rooms. This is like an absolute happy place for me, and where I would intentionally take myself to switch off if I was in my day-to-day life. I don't do it as often as I would like to, but if I had the opportunity to do it all the time, I would. But I was mid-launch at the time of recording. I'm still in that launch. I had a full inbox. I was away from my family, my little boy and my partner. And even though everything was completely fine at home, my brain was being very loud and a little bit obnoxious, if I'm honest with you. So I did what I know how to do. I gave my body something to do. So I just kept on going in and out of the sauna. And as much as I do genuinely love doing that, when I was in the sauna, it was the only moment I was able to sort of quieten the noise a little bit, because I didn't have as many distractions. And I did have a couple of really lovely conversations in there. But I had to be doing something physical, something present, and something that pulled me back out of my head and into my body. And then later on, a few of us congregated around, the loungers that are by the pool, and a conversation happened. And this conversation obviously wasn't planned. happened. And a group of us, including Matt, who was leading the retreat, just started talking about business and about life and about what balance looks like to each of us individually, and about what each of us are protecting, what's important to us, what each of us are building, and also what some of us are a bit scared of. And I found myself celebrating wins that I hadn't let myself celebrate yet, talking about the big changes I'm making in my theatre school this year, and being honest about the fact that a lot of change, even good change, can feel really unsettling and really blooming scary. And nobody fixed anything. They didn't need to fix anything. Nobody had any strong outward facing opinions about anything. The people that were sat in that conversation just held space. They just held space for each other. And here is what I want you to take from that. Is just imagine having that relationship with your own voice. So you're not just in the room with the people that you trust and potentially feel safe with, but you might get to feel that on a stage, on a podcast, in a sales conversation, in a pitch, in a tricky conversation, because no matter what business you have or what business model you're striving for or have in place, we're always going to have tricky conversations at some point. It's a part of life. And I just want you to imagine walking into those spaces and just feeling held rather than exposed, grounded rather than braced, and present rather than performing. And that is what the work that I do helps to create. And this isn't an overnight success story, but it does create it. And of course, we can never, ever control the environments we're walking into. I was incredibly fortunate to feel so held in that space after I was feeling a little bit charged. I was feeling a little bit anxious, just a little bit worried, and, just having a few unhelpful, limiting beliefs cropping up and things like that, as we all do. And I was really lucky in that moment that I was in a really great held space. But I also have loads of tools in my toolkit to help me with regulating my nervous system. And later on that day, there was the barbecue. Oh my gosh, the food was incredible. And we broke off again into lots of different pockets, lots of different areas of the castle to chat and eat and drink and be merry, And gradually people started peeling off, going to bed, getting taxis to go back to their accommodation. And most of this happened, I would say, at about 10 p.m. And I was still there going at 1:30 in the morning, singing karaoke, because apparently I just am completely unable to leave a party for fear of missing out. Was it FOMO? And it was really fun. There was a very small group of us left, and there was lots of karaoke, lots of dancing, singing, being jolly. And there was no inhibitions in that room. Everyone was just letting go and having so much fun. Yes, the next morning I definitely felt a bit tired, that's for sure. We had to be back at the castle by 9:30. And we started with a breathwork session led by the fabulous Natalie Kitchen. Go and check her out. She's the burnout breathwork coach. And during that session, I felt something that I don't get to feel very often in the middle of a launch period, particularly. And that was still, completely still. And it definitely helped having such wonderful conversations the day before and being able to switch off a bit. And I would say that switched off is one of those funny phrases, isn't it? That I kind of feel like it almost feels like you're not like in the moment. So I guess I wasn't switched off. I wasn't checked out. I was actually switched on. I was actually present. I was in my body. And I was still and quiet. And the thing that I want you to hear about that is that feeling of stillness that I found in a breathwork session on a Sunday morning in a castle is the feeling that your audience gets when you speak. That is what happens in the room when someone stands up and delivers their message without any of the noise getting in the way. The room goes quiet, it's still, and everyone is listening and focusing. Not because it's boring, but because it's magnetic. People lean forwards, they feel something, they remember it. And that's what becomes available to you when you are able to articulate your message and regulate your nervous system so that the nerves don't steal the moment that you've been working towards. And it's not just for you, but it's for every room that you walk into, every person you interact with, every call, every conversation. And the rest of Sunday was brilliant. We had an AI session with Phil Harrison that completely expanded how I'm thinking about what's possible in business. Not necessarily the two businesses I have, could be a completely new idea. We had a talk with Kaylee Atherton about building something sustainable, maintaining your standards as your business grows, something that is just so important. Communicating your vision to a team and naturally communicating that your team don't need to be guessing what you're actually talking about. And then a Q&A session with the entrepreneurs in the group at the retreat that are already operating at 6 and 7 figures, who were, I want you to know, just completely gorgeous and fantastic, fabulous people. They just happen to have businesses that are a bit further along than the other members of the group. Perhaps they've been in business a bit longer, all sorts of reasons. I say this with the most kindness, like no magic, no mastery, just people who really know what they're doing, and as I say, have probably been doing it a little bit longer. But I must say, they were all very magic. But you know what I mean? You know, it's totally attainable to everybody if you are willing to go the distance, as it were. And we had a closing session on building and launching a lead magnet at speed using AI tools, which was one of the most practically useful things I've learned in a while. And that was with the gorgeous Rebecca Whitney, who is also an AI expert and honestly just is the most gorgeous human and knows her shizzle. So we then had our closing moments, and some other members of Matt's membership, Success School, which is different to the Mastermind and Retreat, had put together a happy birthday video for him. So we watched all of that, and that was super fun. Loads of faces in there that I recognised. So that was so lovely. And then it was home time. So I drove home on the Sunday evening, knowing something clearly that I had known for a long time, which is my mission. And it is to help you feel safe in the spaces where you need to speak. It is to help you to use your voice in the places that matter and to share your message and expertise. And it's not just to be more confident, but that is definitely part of my mission, but it's to feel safe, that you are regulated, you have so many tools and techniques in your arsenal that you're able to rely on to regulate your nervous system so that you can show up in all those places that you need to be. Because here is what changes when you do feel regulated in those spaces. You stop shrinking in sales conversations and you start closing with ease, not because you've learned a script, but because you just trust your own voice. You know what you're doing in your business. You have the expertise. You're not following any sort of system. You're just you making sales in your business because you know that the person you're talking to needs your service. You say yes to those speaking opportunities you may have been turning down because the stage stops feeling like a threat and starts feeling like it could be where you belong. You show up on podcasts and interviews, and in rooms full of people, you're actually there doing it. You walk away from your launches knowing you communicated your offer clearly and powerfully, and you feel that in your results. And you're the person that has that tricky conversation and is able to assert themselves calmly but confidently. With your message clear, everything is coming across well, you get your message across. And the people that have done this work for me have gone from avoiding any kind of speaking opportunity to delivering a keynote, from stumbling through sales calls to converting consistently, from knowing their message but not being able to get it out clearly to be known for it. And that's the ROI of learning to use your voice, and it is available to you. And if this episode resonated with you and you're ready to stop letting nerves get in the way of the moments that matter, I would love to have a conversation with you. So head to the link in the show notes to book a call with me. No obligation. It's just a clarity call, and we'll have a chat about where you are right now, what's getting in the way, and how I can help you move forward. And I would absolutely love to hear from you. And if calls aren't your thing, please just pop me a DM on Instagram. But for now, I want to say thank you so much for listening. Keep showing up, keep grounded, and keep doing the work that lights you up. Take care of yourselves, and I'll speak to you soon.
Thank you so much for being here and for listening to this episode of Reclaim Your Voice. If today's conversation resonated, head to the show notes where you'll find my free audio gifts. And if this episode helped you in any way, it would mean so much if you shared it, rated or reviewed the show. That support helps these conversations reach the people who really need them. You can also watch the full episode over on our YouTube channel, and we'll see you in the next one.